All right, good afternoon. This is the video for lesson 56, using pictures to compare fractions. Okay, so to compare fractions, you can look at pictures or draw a picture to compare them to see which one is greater than, less than, or equal to. So if we are looking at our lesson 56, using pictures to compare fractions. All right, so let's begin. This one says to compare 1/2 to 1/3. So you can do this in your head, but it's also good practice to draw it out using pictures. Now, the thing that you have to remember when you are comparing fractions is to make the pictures congruent, and it says it there in your textbook. Congruent means that they have the same shape and size. You can't draw something like this. You can't do a circle and then a square, right? Because they are not the same size. The square is obviously bigger than the circle. So you want to have two congruent shapes, congruent. So if I chose circles, right, 1/2, so I would draw a circle, and then I would shade in 1/2 of it, because that's what I'm comparing here. And now if I did a circle here, now my total pieces, I need to have 3 pieces, right? So that would be something like this, right? 1, 2, 3. And that would be shading in one of it. Now you can compare which is bigger. So this half is bigger, right? So it'd be 1/2 is greater than 1/3. Let's remember that the small one, remember we said that it's like a little baby brother or sister wanting to be like the bigger one. So the smaller one always eats the bigger one. Let's quickly do a review real quick. This is right here. This says greater than. This is less than and equal to, right? Okay. All right, so let's do a few more. For the first example, compare 1/4 to 1/3. Now with this one, I can draw a circle. I'll draw circles. 1/4, so that means I have to have 4 total pieces. 3 pieces, right? That's kind of what we did. And now I need to shade in for here, 1/4 of it. And for this one, just one of it. Right? So if I compared 1/4 to 1/3, this piece is definitely smaller than this piece. So that would be 1/4 is less than 1/3. Okay? All right. So what I want you to do now is to pause the video, and then we're going to pause the video and do the lesson practice. Practice A, B, or letters A, B, and C, and then press play to see if you got it correct. Go. Okay. How'd you do? Awesome. I know you guys did. All right, let's go over the lesson practice. Letter A. Compare 1/2 to 2/3. All right, so I'm going to do squares here. You could have done squares or you could have done circles. So 1/2 would be like this, right? And 1/2. 2/3. Now it has to be the same square, right? But now this one's broken up into 3, 1, 2, 3. And there's 2 of them covered, shaded. That means that means that 1/2 compared to this one is actually a smaller piece, right? So 1/2 is less than 2/3. Excellent. All right. Letter B, 1/2 compared to 1/4. Okay. So if I did a circle, 1/2, here we go. 1/2 compared to 1/4. So 1/2 compared to 1/4, this is much bigger, right? So 1/2 is greater than 1/4. Okay. All right. And the last one. Ooh, I see some bigger numbers here. 2/5 compared to 1/3. Now with this one, like with the bigger number, I would suggest not using circles, because with circles you can only get so many pieces, right? I would suggest doing rectangles or squares, because that way you can divide it up a little bit kind of easier. So if I did a rectangle here and I needed 5 pieces, it's best to do something like this. Look, 1, 2, 3. Do you see how that's even? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's 5 even pieces. Okay. You don't want to do something like this. Something like this, because first of all, that would be for an even number, and let's say if you wanted to do 5 pieces, like that just wouldn't work. Okay. So let's do 1/3. So we'll do the same. We'll do the congruent shape, but this one we're going to divide it into 3 pieces. So all right, 2/5. So that would be 1, 2. 1/3 would be like this. Now, if you really looked at it, which one is greater than or equal to? 2/5 is actually greater than 1/3. 2/5 is greater than 1/3. Okay, now you are ready to do your mixed practice for lesson number 56. But before you start, let's do a couple of review questions on your mixed practice, okay? So I want you to do number 7. Pause, do number 7, and then play again so that you can see how you did, okay? Pause. All right. Welcome back. Number 7 says, compare these fractions. Draw and shade 2 congruent rectangles to show the comparison. So that would be 1/4 compared to 1/6. So you have to draw and shade 2 congruent shapes. I'm going to do rectangles. This one, the total number of pieces I need are 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one is 6. All right. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. So I need to shade just 1 from each. Now, if you looked at those, which one is the bigger amount? 1/4, right? Because even though there's 4 pieces, there's 4 big pieces. Would you rather have a pizza that had 4 pieces and then you had 1, or if you had 6 smaller pieces and you had 1 of those? Probably 1/4, right? So 1/4 is greater than 1/6. All right, let's do a few more review ones, because since it's been a while, I want us to review some. So when I say pause, I want you to do number 8 and number 9, and then press play. Okay, pause. All right, well, come back. Number 8, we did this last week. Round 4,873 to the nearest 1,000, 110. All right, so the nearest 1,000. Remember, we're looking at the thousands place, but we look at the next number. If it's 5 or higher, this goes up to 5,000. If it's 4 or lower, this number here, then it stays at 4,000, right? So this is an 8. That means that the nearest 1,000 would be 5,000. Now to the nearest 100, look here, but we more so look at the tens. 5 or higher, it goes up to 9. 4 or lower, it stays at 8 and goes to hundreds. This is 5 or higher, so this would be 900. Now to the nearest 10. Here's our 10, but we look at this one, right? 4 lower, this would be the same. So 4,870. Okay, now for number 9. Number 9, perimeter and area. Let's recall, perimeter is length plus width plus width. And area is length times width, right? All right, so if we wanted to find the perimeter of this rectangle, it's 7, what does it say? 7 miles and 4 miles. So 7 plus 7, 14, plus 4, 18, plus 4 is 22 miles. That's the perimeter. P equals 22. Now area, remember that you multiply length times width. But when you write it, since you're multiplying, you have to put a little square by it. So 7 times 4 is 28 miles, 28 square miles, or miles square. All right, great job. One more thing. I want you to do number 28, A, B, and C, and then press play, okay? Pause. All right, boys and girls, let's do number 28. Remember this was from lesson 36 and investigation 5, but it's always good to just review. All right, so pennies. Fractions, percents, and decimals, the same thing. Remember, all 3 things relate. All right, letter A. A penny is what fraction of a dollar? So we think, how many total pennies are there in a dollar? There are 100 pennies. So if it's 1 penny, it would be 1/100th. That's for letter A. Okay, for letter B. A penny is what percent? Ooh, percent. We talked about this. Remember percent? If it's just 1 penny, it's just 1%. And for letter C, write the value of a penny as a decimal part of a dollar. Oh, part of a dollar. We know how to write that, right? If it's just 1 penny, 0 and like this, 1 cent. 1/100ths, right? That says hundredths. All right, you may continue working on your lesson 56. Great job.